of the Battle of New Orleans, had just been sworn in as the 7th President of the United States. Jackson was a man of the people. He had risen from humble beginnings to become a symbol of American democracy. His election was a victory for the common man. It ushered in a new era in American politics. Jackson's inauguration was a raucous affair. Thousands of well-wishers flooded into Washington, D.C. to celebrate his victory. The crowd was so large that it nearly tore down the White House in its enthusiasm. Jackson, a widower, was moved by the outpouring of support. He vowed to serve as a president for all Americans. The new president faced a daunting task. The country was divided. Regional tensions were high. The issue of slavery was a powder keg waiting to explode. Jackson was determined to unite the nation. He believed that the best way to do this was to create a strong and efficient government that would serve the needs of the people. Jackson surrounded himself with a cabinet of loyal advisors. These men were all experienced politicians and statesmen. They were eager to help the new president achieve his goals. One of Jackson's closest confidants was John Eaton, a senator from Tennessee. Eaton was a charming and ambitious man. He had served with Jackson during the War of 1812. He had been one of Jackson's most vocal supporters during the presidential campaign. Jackson appointed Eaton as his Secretary of War. This was a key position in the cabinet. Eaton was responsible for overseeing the nation's military affairs. He was also responsible for managing relations with Native American tribes. Eaton was well suited for the job. He was a skilled negotiator. He was a strong advocate for Jackson's policies. The new administration got off to a strong start. Jackson quickly moved to assert his authority. He replaced many government officials with his own appointees. He pushed through a number of important pieces of legislation. The country seemed to be on the right track. Yet beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. This storm would soon engulf the Jackson administration in scandal. At the center of the storm was Peggy Eaton, the wife of John Eaton. Peggy was a beautiful and vivacious woman. She was known for her quick wit and her love of parties. She was also the target of malicious gossip. Rumors about Peggy's past had been circulating in Washington for years. Some whispered that she had been unfaithful to her first husband. Others claimed that she had been involved in a scandalous affair with John Eaton while her husband was still alive. These rumors were fueled by the fact that Peggy's first husband had died under mysterious circumstances. He was a purser in the United States Navy. He had died at sea while on a voyage to the Mediterranean. The official cause of death was listed as consumption. However, some people speculated that he had committed suicide. They suggested that he had been driven to it by his wife's infidelity. Whether the rumors about Peggy Eaton were true or not is impossible to say for sure. There is no doubt that they were widely circulated. There is no doubt that they had a devastating impact on her reputation. In the close-knit world of Washington society, Peggy Eaton became an outcast. The wives of Jackson's cabinet members refused to associate with Peggy Eaton. They snubbed her at social gatherings. They spread rumors about her behind her back. The leader of this social boycott was Floride Calhoun, the wife of Vice President John C. Calhoun. Calhoun was a powerful figure in the Jackson administration. He was also a man of impeccable social standing. His wife's disapproval of Peggy Eaton carried a great deal of weight. The social ostracism of Peggy Eaton created a deep rift in the Jackson administration. John Eaton was furious at the way his wife was being treated. He demanded that Jackson intervene on her behalf. Jackson was torn. He was a loyal friend to the Eatons. He was also a shrewd politician. He knew that taking sides in a social squabble was a risky move. The president decided to try to stay above the fray. He urged his cabinet members and their wives to put aside their differences. He reminded them that they were all there to serve the country. However, Jackson's pleas fell on deaf ears. The social boycott of Peggy Eaton continued unabated. Section 5. The President's Defense. Andrew Jackson was a man who knew what it was like to be the target of malicious gossip. His own wife, Rachel, had been subjected to vicious rumors during the 1828 presidential campaign. Rachel had been married before. Her first husband had abandoned her. She had been living with Jackson for several years before her divorce was finalized. This made her a target for Jackson's political opponents. They accused her of being an adulteress. They spread rumors about her alleged promiscuity. The attacks on Rachel Jackson had deeply wounded her husband. He blamed them for her death, which occurred just a few weeks after his election. Jackson believed that the stress of the campaign had taken a toll on her health. He never forgave the people who had slandered her. In Peggy Eaton, Jackson saw echoes of his beloved Rachel. He was determined to protect her from the same kind of vicious gossip that had destroyed his wife. Jackson's defense of Peggy Eaton only made matters worse. His political opponents accused him of being blind to her faults. They claimed that he was putting his personal feelings ahead of the good of the country. The social boycott of Peggy Eaton became a major political scandal. It was dubbed the Petticoat Affair by the press. Section 6. A matter of principle. The Petticoat Affair dragged on for months. It consumed the Jackson administration. It became clear that something had to be done. In the spring of 1831, Jackson decided to take matters into his own hands. He called a meeting of his cabinet. He demanded that they put an end to the social boycott of Peggy Eaton. Jackson argued that the women's behavior was un-Christian and un-American. He insisted that they had a duty to welcome Peggy Eaton into their social circle. The cabinet members were stunned by Jackson's outburst. They had never seen him so angry. They tried to explain that they could not control the actions of their wives. However, Jackson was not interested in excuses. He gave them an ultimatum. Either their wives started treating Peggy Eaton with respect, or they would be forced to resign. The cabinet members were caught in a bind. They were loyal to Jackson. They believed in his policies. However, they were also unwilling to force their wives to associate with a woman they considered to be morally unfit. Section 7. Resignations and Repercussions. In the end, most of Jackson's cabinet members chose to resign rather than force their wives to accept Peggy Eaton. Only one member of the cabinet, Secretary of State Martin Van Buren, stood by Jackson. Van Buren was a widower. He had no wife to offend. He was also a shrewd politician. He realized that Jackson's support could be invaluable to his own political ambitions. The Petticoat Affair had a profound impact on Jackson's presidency. It cost him the support of some of his closest advisors. It damaged his reputation. It also led to a bitter feud with his vice president, John C. Calhoun. Calhoun resigned as vice president in 1832. He returned to the Senate, where he became one of Jackson's most vocal critics. The Petticoat Affair was a major scandal. It is a reminder that even the most powerful people in the world are not immune to the perils of gossip and rumor. Section 8. Echoes of the Past. Throughout history, there have been numerous examples of scandals that rocked political landscapes and captivated public attention. These events, often fueled by allegations of impropriety, corruption, or personal indiscretions, have the power to reshape public opinion, topple administrations, and leave lasting marks on the course of history. While the Petticoat Affair stands as a unique event in American history, it shares similarities with other scandals. Its echoes can be found in different times and places. One such example is the Dreyfus Affair that gripped France in the late 19th century. This scandal involved the false accusation of treason against Alfred Dreyfus, a Jewish artillery officer in the French army. The case, riddled with forgeries, cover-ups, and anti-Semitism, deeply divided French society and had a lasting impact on the country's political and social fabric. Like the Petticoat Affair, the Dreyfus Affair transcended a simple criminal case. It became a battleground for deeper societal issues, exposing religious prejudices and the abuse of power within the government. Similarly, the Profumo Affair, which shook the British establishment in the 1960s, bears resemblance to the Petticoat Affair in its exploration of morality and hypocrisy within the corridors of power. This scandal, which involved a British Secretary of State for War and his relationship with a young model, brought to light issues of national security, social hypocrisy, and the often blurred lines between personal and political life. The Profumo Affair, like the Petticoat Affair, demonstrated the potent mix of sex, power, and scandal that can captivate a nation and have lasting consequences for those involved. Section 9. The Petticoat Affair's Legacy. The Petticoat Affair, though seemingly centered on a social squabble, offers valuable insights into the dynamics of power, the role of women in society, and the nature of political scandal. It underscores the ways in which personal matters can become entangled with affairs of state. It highlights the vulnerability of individuals, even those in positions of authority, to rumor and innuendo. Though often viewed through the lens of a salacious anecdote from America's past, the Petticoat Affair holds a deeper significance. This scandal serves as a potent reminder of the enduring power of social norms and expectations, particularly for women in the public eye. It sheds light on the often constricted roles women were expected to play in the early days of the Republic. Furthermore, the Petticoat Affair demonstrates how personal loyalties and political maneuvering can intersect, sometimes with explosive results. The events of the Petticoat Affair, while belonging to a bygone era, continue to resonate with contemporary audiences. This scandal, with its themes of rumor, social ostracism, and the abuse of power, serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that the personal and the political are often inextricably intertwined, and that even the most powerful figures are not immune to the court of public opinion. The Petticoat Affair, therefore, remains a compelling and relevant piece of American history, offering valuable lessons about the nature of power, the complexities of human relationships, and the enduring allure of scandal.